Hi everyone, and welcome to our keynote. I just want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands and waters in which we sit here today and pay our respects to any Indigenous peoples here present. Welcome and thanks for being here. Thanks, Kim, for having us here. We are Harri and Sally from When Harri Met Sally, and we have a podcast. And today we're going to talk a little bit about our podcast, and we're going to interview a couple of wonderful women here. And I've already gone off script, so Sally's rolling her eyes at me as she was supposed to do the introduction. But now I'll hand it over to you, Sal.
Oh, fantastic. That's how we roll. It's a very relaxed podcast, if anybody's listened to it. And this is our first live podcast, so we're very excited about it. Normally we're in a podcast suite, just the two of us, and this is what goes on.
Yeah.
So if any of that happens now, we're going to forget that we've got a live audience, and you'll notice that we're just winging it as we go. So as Harriet said, we have both been in the industry for quite a long time, and what we thought would be really nice, most of you know who we are, I would imagine, and our stories, but for the few of you that don't, I think it's really nice for us to just give you a couple of seconds of our background, and I think Harri, yeah, that was a joke. 5 minutes, Penny Stevens, this is 5 minutes. Here we go. We're going to 5 minutes, and just tell us a little bit about your background, and then I'll talk about mine, and then we're going to talk about why we decided to start a podcast and what we've learnt along the journey. So, Harriet, who the hell are you?
Hi, so I'm Harriet, and I have been in the photography industry for almost 20 years. I'm a commercial photographer and work in a commercial way, but also do many other things within the industry as well. So I am an educator. I work at Photography Studies College. Shout out to some current and past students in the audience. I love that. I really love teaching and I love educating, and as I've kind of got older through the industry, through my years, I've really found that mentoring and education is really where my passion lies. So that's a big part of what I do now. And I also run an organisation called Photo Collective, and in Photo Collective we run award programs and we run artist talks and workshops, and we put on exhibitions. We had a little magazine for a while that potentially might start up again soon. So the foundation of Photo Collective is really providing opportunities to photographers, and celebrating Australian photography. So that was a real passion of ours, that Australian photography had a platform to kind of be celebrated. So that's fantastic. And then I also run a podcast with this fabulous woman here, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, Sally, if you can be as concise as I just was, would you like to talk about your wonderful career?
Given that I'm about a year older than you, mine's a little bit longer, but I'm going to try and be concise. So, started life out as a commercial photographer, worked in film and television and theatre, actually worked for Rolf Harris. Oh, you meant to do that. In England, worked in film and television, came back to Australia, was a little bit lost, didn't really know what to do after many years of travelling, and started teaching, went back to RMIT where I'd studied, and they invited me to come in and teach. So I started teaching at RMIT photography to advertising students and also to photography students, where I stayed for pretty much the next 15 years. But I was only doing that part-time, 2 days a week. They were great. They gave me a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. slot 2 days a week. So I did three-hour classes back to back. Obviously, I was a lot younger.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, it was exhausting. But in the middle of all that, I made this light bulb moment decision not to be a commercial photographer, even though my entire life I wanted to be a photographer. And in fact, at my wedding, my husband was there also, he says, at our wedding, many years later, my dad said, all her life she wanted to be a photographer, so she went to university to study photography, and then when she started working in industry with Rick Wallace, she learned a little bit more about photography and a lot about life. And I think my entire journey in photography has been a lifelong experience, and it continues every day. And throughout that time I became an agent. I was the second agent in Australia to manage commercial advertising photographers, and that was huge. And I had some of the best photographers that were working at that time in industry. So people like Jean-Marc Laroque, Heather Dinas, Greg Elms, Rick Wallace, Robin Lee, the list goes on. And my job was to go into industry and to find them work and then to produce it and manage it, and I put on exhibitions and did calendars and learned a lot about the industry. I then decided to move I was bought out really by a woman who did what I did, but within the creative industry as well. So she was doing that for graphic designers and art directors and copywriters and multimedia artists. So I had the opportunity to learn about that side of the industry. And after I had a family, I moved into working into advertising agencies and design studios, doing new business for them, but also managing all of their photography. So like Harriet, it's been a quite a diverse career that's always, creativity's always been at the centre of it. And helping other people. And the Brown Bill effect came about from just having this massive network and deciding that I wanted to help other people. So for the last 20 years, I've built portfolios and mentored photographers. I still educate. I don't run classes anymore, but I do guest lecturing. I also got heavily involved in design, so I'm an industry fellow at Swinburne University now, where I work with their honours design students, and then I take a student on each year, which I love, and I've got 2 books up there for sale. Sorry, I had to do that. That I worked, yeah, that's it, and that I work with students on, which they're beautiful, so they're about industry. These days, I have the creative directory, the photography assistant register. I also help people find full-time jobs, and I'm doing a variety of other things, and writing books, and have a podcast with Harri, and which is a really wonderful segue to talk about why we started our podcast. And Harriet and I have known each other for
10 years? Yeah,
10 years.
Probably 10 plus years, but really 10 years.
Danced around each other for a little while, and I was watching what she was doing, and then Tom and Harriet arrived in my office many years ago with their idea for Photo Collective.
Yeah, it was Australian Photography Awards at the time, so it was just the award that we were focusing on, and Photo Collective has sort of grown out of that. But yeah, Sally was the first person we approached. So we knew that we wanted to kind of create something that supported photographers, and our initial idea was to sort of create a grant of types to fund projects that photographers could kind of go and do. And we realised that was going to be quite ambitious for people just starting off in this kind of area of the industry, and also that it wouldn't be the best business decision either, and we've all got to make a business in life. So we ended up pivoting and created Australian Photography Awards, which is a single image entry competition. And we knew that we knew a lot of people in the industry, and if we had the backing of some great friends and industry collaborations, then we would be on in a good footing. So we actually went to Sally first
with 2 pieces of paper.
Like literally, like we came with this and as our proposal, and we were like, "Here you go, we have an idea."
with staples.
Yeah.
And look what they've become. It's just such a huge success.
Yeah, and we're so proud of you. Yeah, we really just like, and we'll touch on this a little bit between us as well. We really. It's not that we didn't know what we were doing. We kind of knew what we were getting in for, but we didn't have all our ducks in a line. But we were just like, we know we can do this. It's a great idea, and we're just going to go for it. So we started off with people we knew, with our little document, with our staple in the corner, and got our committee on board first. So we had 5 incredible committee members. And once we had our committee members, we then went and pitched to some brands that would potentially give us sponsorship. And, it sort of grew from there. So, you kind of learn along the way and grow along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we knew each other before then, but then we started to get to know each other quite well throughout that period of time. And I was judging in the early days and on the committee, and it was learning to see how Harriet operated as well, and really respected her. Loved her voice, obviously fell in love with the voice first, and then...
This is something I'm only just finding out, in the last few weeks.
The Queen. But really respected the way her and Tom ran their organisation and her involvement in photography, and thought that she was somebody, if I was ever going to do anything, because I'd always done everything on my own, I've always run my own show. I was expelled from private girls' school, and I blame that, and have never really been good working for other people, but I love collaborating with people. And I thought, one day I reckon I could do something with Harriet. And so that's sort of how it, and I was involved with the Photo Collective, and the Brown Bill Effect have sponsored them, and I've been around a lot with Julie and many of us, as you know. So I've watched her operate, and I thought, you know, when you're going to pick a partner to work with on something, you want somebody that can match your energy. I've got a lot of energy.
A lot of energy.
And that we have similar skills but also different skills. And I think that's really important. Harriet, whilst she is a commercial photographer, she is also very involved in the art space, and we both have a huge passion for mentoring and education, which was great, and I'm very involved in the commercial space. So there was a lovely synergy. There was a lot of things that we did and we knew together, but I'm learning a lot from Harriet, and hopefully she's learning something from me. Maybe not, maybe. But we are a bit of a yin and yang, so we are quite different people, but we enjoy each other's company, and I think we actually like each other, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is like, Sally just talked about, you know, working on her own for so long, and for me it's kind of quite the opposite. I always work with other people, and actually I find working with other people is so much more fulfilling for me. So I learned a long time ago that collaboration is my way forward, and I collaborate on personal projects with photographers and other people in my life. I collaborate, you know, with Sally on the podcast, collaborate with Tom and Gussie on Photo Collective. So for me, that's really important. And in fact, when I'm kind of on my own, I'm just trying to get a word. I find that's much more fulfilling. You made me lose my train of thought.
I know I did. I'm so sorry. What I was going to say was, and we'd love to introduce you to Shaquille. Shaquille's our editor, and we met Shaquille... editor, is that what we call you? Audio guy, our roadie. And we met Shaquille through Col Arts, who are one of our sponsors, and Shaquille was a student when we first started, and then we've just kept him.
Yeah.
We love him.
We do.
He makes us sound good. So the collaboration is a huge part of what we do, but I found when I talked about working on my own, whilst I'm mentoring everybody else and helping everyone else's careers, I lost my way a little bit in my own creativity. So a couple of years ago I took up pottery, and I do 2 hours a week, sometimes 4 on a Thursday, and I create. I'm a hand builder, and I'm doing all this gorgeous stuff. So that's been where I needed to get my creative on. And then Harri and I decided to catch up for coffee like we did occasionally. About a year ago, maybe a little bit more, 18 months ago. And it was like, right, what are you going to do next? What do you want to do? And we were like, I don't know, I sort of love to be on radio or a podcast or something. Then we went, podcast?
Well, then Sally went, podcast, okay. And I went, okay. And then...
I said, when Harri met Sally, and she goes, no, you can't do that. And I said, we can. So I rang up a lawyer friend, and I said, can we do it? Spelt Harri with an I, and he goes, yeah, you're not in the movies. Yes, yep, bang, you can. And we went, oh my God, we can do it.
And before I knew it, I was involved in a podcast.
It's actually happening.
Yes.
And then we went, how do you do a podcast? She goes, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? I thought you knew all that stuff. She's way more technical than me. She said, I don't know. I have no clue.
I'm not that technical.
I have no clue. So then we engaged a friend that many of you might know, Libby, who used to have Memento Pro. And Libby knew a little bit about podcasting. So we had a lovely conversation with her, and she helped us set it up initially. Yep. And we learnt a lot. And then we went... right, well, we're not going to have time because we're both really busy and we're very good time managers. So we thought, right, how are we going to do this? We are not going to just do a podcast every week. We are going to do 12 episodes and we are going to smash it out in the first season in 4 days.
That was mistake number one. It was amazing.
This is a visual thing. It was amazing.
Yeah,
but
it was
by
amazing.
the end of it, we were like, at one point the ground was coming up and I was like this, right? And I said to Harriet, I'm really dizzy. And we ended up both getting vertigo because we'd been in the pod suite room for so long that there was no horizon, right? We both had vertigo. So then the next season,
we spread it out a little bit more, and it was much better, but still a little bit intense. And so the moral of the story is we're learning as we go, and even though, you know, we've had quite a lot of, between us, quite a few years in the industry and you know a few things, we're still learning all the time.
And that's what's really exciting. And Shaquille helps us out sometimes and says no.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Oh, right, okay. Last season we did our first podcast via Zoom, and that was kind of an interesting experience and a little bit quirky, but we got there in the end.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at videoing them. We'll be doing a live podcast here on Sunday, so that will be live streamed through our
through
called?
YouTube.
There you go, through YouTube.
So that's going to be fun.
So that's going to be really fun.
And not nerve-wracking at all.
And so we're always trying to take on new things. So we look for, in our podcast, whilst it is very fluid, and we're going to be talking to two gorgeous women here today, whilst it's very fluid, we do have a structure to what we're doing, a little bit. It's a little bit vague, but we know how to keep it running smoothly, and I think that's a real skill set for both of us.
Yeah, there's a balance between we don't want it to be formulaic and to like have a list of questions and then right next. We want it to be free flowing and open and a conversation really, but it helps to kind of obviously do your research, know who you're photographing, interviewing or photographing, as I'm sure you all know, and then we send the beautiful guests some dot points and just say, look, this is what we're thinking, this is what we'd like to know about, but if it tangents off, great, we're really happy with that as well.
Christina, in her talk this morning, talked about the Olive Cotton Award. Well, we were fortunate enough to interview Olive's daughter. And Sally McInerney. And her granddaughter was there with us as well. And we had a vision of how that would go, but it just went down such a different rabbit hole. It was interesting.
It was so beautiful, really, like a historical journey of Olive's life and Sally's life. Just amazing.
So what we do with the podcast is we think very carefully about the sort of people that we want on. So it's quite diverse. So we can have people like Andrew Chapman, who have been around since the beginning of time. And then we have emerging photographers, photojournalists, people that employ photographers, people like Carly Earle, who is the editor of The Guardian, and Danny Sprague. My voice, Danny Sprague from The Age, and everybody in between. And then I'll go, oh, what about this guy? And then you'll say, what about this? And I'll go, I don't know. Like, I'd never met Tajette O'Halloran, but we had her on the last. Harriet had introduced me to her work, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
So we still have that love and that passion, and I think we talk about AI in the last season as well. In fact, the last episode is about AI, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I think the core to everything that we do as photographers, with our podcast, with what you're doing, it's about communication and it's about having that passion and that love. And whilst we still have that, we're going to keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting, the conversations themselves are always incredible. That's the absolute highlight of the whole project that we do, just getting into that pod suite and just chatting and finding out where these people come from and their experience and their story, and that's really amazing. The release of it, Sally's often a bit more excited than I am. I'm a bit like, oh my goodness. And people say, oh, I heard the podcast. I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? So I'm again, learning and challenging myself with that side of things. But yeah, the conversations are always just fabulous.
I think your biggest challenge is me putting us all over in colourful clothes, jumping around in photographs.
Yeah.
And she goes, really? Are we really doing this?
There's me with my mouth open again. Right.
Yes, we are. This is our brand. So we're having lots of fun.
Okay, so I think on that note, we will pause for a second and we're going to bring up our fabulous guests today. So we've got Christina de Water and we've got Fernanda Pedroso, and we're bringing up these fabulous women because they both have been a part of Refocus Retreat in different ways. Christina's spoken this morning and some of you would have heard her, and Fernanda's been a part of attending for the last few years, and we just wanted to hear some some really interesting viewpoints on their experiences in photography and being a female in photography. So bear with us 2 minutes while we just swap seats and get them up on the stage.
Mic 'em up.
And we'll start our chat with them.
Yay. Okay, ladies, here we go.
Here we go.
Welcome to the When Harry Met Sally podcast.
Thank you.
Yay, thank you for coming up. Now, we've met before, obviously. Yep. We met here, didn't we, some time ago?
Yeah, last time, yeah.
And then I'd like to start off a question. So you're from Brazil.
Yes.
Imagine if you turned around and said, no, I'm not, I'm from Spain. You're from Brazil. What did you do there? Because I know you didn't do photography, but you don't know that maybe. What did you do there, and then why did you come to Australia? That's my first question.
So yes, I used to work with advertising there. I worked for 20 years as a producer. And then I met an amazing Australian in Brazil. I fell in love. He has kids, I don't have kids. So, and it's really expensive to, go to Brazil all the time, and it's far away. And because I don't have kids, we decided that would be good if I moved to Australia. And I said, okay, I can move to Australia, but would you support me to give me time to decide what I want to do in Australia? Because I really believe you need to work with what you love. And I had no idea about Australia, like the market in Australia. Being a producer is really stressful too, so I didn't want to probably do that here.
So did you see that as an opportunity to come here and start a new career?
Yeah, it was really good.
Why photography?
I always loved photography, and I've always been creative, but I never thought about working with photography. But I started, when I arrived in Australia, the next day was lockdown, the airport was closed, so the next day.
Excellent.
So I didn't have many...
Welcome to Australia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I didn't have many possibilities really at the time, which was good in somehow because I was studying, thinking about what I was going to do, and pushing myself to choose what I was going to do. And so 9 months after in Australia, after studying digital marketing and how to photograph with phone, how to see the light using the photos, because I was going to open a shop. And so I was going to do the photos to market in the shop. And then I realized that what I really liked to do was to photograph, producing the photos that I was studying for. So I asked my friends in Brazil, which camera should I buy? I want to be a photographer, a professional.
Did they say Nikon?
Yeah. They said Nikon. And they said Z6 II on the time, I think, or Z7. The Z7 it was starting. So I bought a Nikon on December, and then I opened my box on January, because I never opened the box the same day, I don't know why.
I am exactly the same.
Yeah.
I get things, and my husband goes, "Have you opened it?" And I
my
go,
husband
no.
is the same.
He goes, "What are you doing?"
So I only open in January.
Just cameras, or is that the same with clothes as well?
Everything I buy.
I'm going to keep that for good, and then you never wear it. You're just going to rip it out and wear it.
Yeah, and then because I bought Nikon, I started following Nikon and everything. And then one day the Refocus came on my feed on Instagram. And then, that looks interesting.
Can I just say that's such an interesting point that, and not to pivot into the, sponsor pitch, but isn't that incredible that Nikon is sponsoring so many things and so supportive of our industry, that people are finding wonderful events like this through that sort of brand alignment? I think it's, Anyway, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And what interested you about it? Was it about photography or Nikon, or can we say Nikon anymore? Or was it about the fact that it was all women?
Well, women.
Great.
And Nikon,
let's go on
of course,
to that.
yeah.
That's
all
what
women.
we're wanting to talk about.
Yeah, all women. And
why?
Why was it interesting to be all women?
For you?
I think for me it was I felt that it could be a safe environment, of course, and it was a lot of different photographers and teaching a lot of different techniques in different markets. So for me, that was new in Australia, new in photography too, was a really good way to try to understand the market. What can I do and everything, so it was really helpful.
And Christina,
Can I ask a question?
I'm going to shut up right now. Go you.
Christina, so I would love to hear a little bit about your experience in the industry as well. And we've just started touching on, the fact that Fernanda came here because, for one, in one side that it was full of women. Has that been your experience the whole way through the industry? Have you found kind of collectives of women, or is it something that's grown?
No, women have always been involved in photography as long as I can remember. And I've got two little stand marks that I can boast of. One I thought was really funny is when I graduated at Paran College, I got first class honours, and so I was the first girl to graduate with first class honours at Paran.
Oh, wow.
And so I got presented with a cheque for $50. Girl.
Wow.
And anyway, I went up on stage, and David Armstrong was the head of the school, and he gave me my $50, and he said, "So what are you going to do with that? Buy a frock?" I went, "No, buy some film. I need film. I'm a student."
Did he say a frock?
A frock. He said, "You're going to buy a frock."
Oh, wow.
So I thought, that's really, honestly, I can honestly say it's probably my only real female-male thing in the industry. Look, when we started the photo agency in Bondi, there were really people like Laurie Graham. Laurie's she's a force to be reckoned with in regards to photojournalists. She was there with all the newspaper guys, always right up you have to when you're a newspaper photographer, but she was phenomenal. I could name so many women that were always there somewhere. And when we had our photo agency, we had Carolyn Johns, an amazing photographer, and also did really... See, in those days you could do sort of... she was a nurse, so she did all this sort of critical nursing photography. And,
wow.
We were a lot looser in those days as to what we were capable of, a lot less security with things.
Yeah.
Choose your assignments as go. And... that's always the thing with photojournalism, and
I just love that that you said that response, because I think you hear this response that it's been a male-dominated industry, and that the women have only just started finding their feet in recent years. But the fact that you have not had that experience is really a wonderful thing to hear.
And it's not, like Max Dupain. He's involved with Olive, don't you?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So there you go.
We learn all about that.
And this girl's no fool.
We learned all about that from her daughter.
Oh, I know. I knew them both when that happened. But the thing is, it was like she brought the female aspect to it in her photography. Max was... and Max Dupain, David Moore, and these guys go right back to photojournalism, right back to Magnum, our early traditional Australian photography.
Well, I guess, Christina, back then, you were a little bit before me, but I feel like one of the first talks that I ever did was about being a woman in industry. It was like, woo, but back then you just were, right? You just did what you did. Yeah. Don't you think? It was quite a different space.
Oh, totally. Like in the 70s, it wasn't about ambition or what sort of job you're going to get, how much money you're going to earn. It was more about, wow, that's interesting. To have an interesting career in the 70s that made you interesting, and that was kind of like your ladder up. It wasn't an ambitious thing. It was more of a lifestyle, and how far can you plough into society.
But you started a creative photo agency, so that's quite ambitious.
Well, it was, and that also came with Philip Quirk, who we partnered that idea. But even before that, the Australian Centre for Photography is what David Moore started, and that was he was determined that Australia have a headquarters, and our headquarters initially was in Oxford Street. And Golf Whitlam and his wife opened it because it was such a big deal. And he was a big deal photographer, very close friend of Max Dupain. But that was just... There were people flooding out in the streets, and they were all photographers when Australian Centre for Photography opened.
Yeah, amazing.
It's great.
Life was so simple then, wasn't it?
What's that?
Life was so simple then.
It was.
It was uncomplicated. Wasn't it? Well, compared to, I guess you coming out, Fernanda... I always want to say Fernando, you know that, don't you? I'm sorry.
Because of the music.
I know.
But Fernando is a male name.
But compared to you coming into Australia now, into this marketplace, it's a very different world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I'm trying to start... blah, blah, blah. I'm
English
still
word.
trying to figure out. Yeah, that's it. Figure out how is the market and like talking. So that's a really good thing to be here and then be able to talk. Like today I was talking with Steph about the market, like the advertising market. How does it work here in Australia? Trying to understand what is the difference between Australia and Brazil. And something that I was thinking now that we're talking about women, for an example, I just thought, when I was a producer in Brazil and I was hiring the photographers there, so I was the one in the agency, like in the agency, advertising agency. Depends on the what we needed to photograph. So I was suggesting the photographers we should work with. But I don't think I ever hired a woman. But I never had a woman coming to me as a photographer. In the market where I was basically males.
Wow, so interesting there. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
And that's in Brazil, is it?
That's in Brazil when I was working there.
Is there a, do you think that's changed in recent years, or do you think that there's an
In advertising, at least the city that I was, it's basically men working with advertising. And advertising market can be really close. Like we know the photographers that can be doing well the work, so you'll be safe.
Yeah.
And I think the women there are doing more like maybe family weddings, but it wasn't the market that I was working there. But I see here in Australia, I think that the women has more space, I think. I don't know why, but
But what you
it's
said
interesting.
too was, whilst you didn't employ any, women weren't coming to see you either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we talk about a lot when we're mentoring and we're working with people, and when I worked with you a couple of years ago, is the phone doesn't ring if people don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? So you've actually just got to get out there, and you never know, you can never second guess what somebody wants to think, and and women have such a different perspective on how they see things and how they look. Would you like to sort of comment on that,
Well, you
Christina?
can sneak into things a lot more than what you could do if you're a bloke. I mean, I've got a small Olympus. Sorry, Nicole. It's a Zeiss lens, but I picked it up from the camera store. This is when I was halfway through. I really haven't had a photographic career. I don't even call myself a photographer. I just love taking photographs, and because I've done so many different things within it. But what was the question?
I don't even remember.
Can
I was just
we touch on
interested.
that's so interesting that you call yourself a photographer. So is that because you had the agency and you've done all these, because you worked in fashion and you've had a magazine as well?
Did, But you remember talking before about when you're losing yourself and you took up ceramics? So we had the what it was called the Wildlight Photo Agency. Actually, I went to Magnum to ask for their guidance and approval, and they gave us the magic wand to say yes, we could start a Magnum type photographic agency in Bondi Beach with their blessing, and that was such a big deal for us. And we had as many women as what we did men. And so we all ran it together, and we covered everything in this country had to offer. We did landscapes, we did panoramic landscapes with Granville Turner, Mark Lang, Oliver Struess, one of Australia's best photojournalists, Peter Solness, who's still highly active and produced about 5 different books, across Russia and stuff like that. I mean, we were some mean feat, We really, and the other thing is timing. I guess you guys know about timing.
Yeah.
We
when
do.
Your time's right.
Time's right. Come on, keep going.
So how long did the agency...
The agency went for about 15 years.
Yeah. And was there a moment when you decided that it kind of enough was enough, or
enough. It was enough for me when my business partner, being the man that I was married to, said to me, "Did you post those letters?" And I said, "Excuse
Did you
me,
what?
Did you post those letters? This is when I'm about to go to bed. Did you post those letters?"
Oh, okay.
Because in those days we had letters, and we had to go to Federal Express to take all our stuff off.
So did you go, I'm not your admin
no,
assistant?
I said, well, how about a fuck? but you know what I mean? So, but what happens is you get lost when you got a business partner and you're married to that business partner. So unfortunately, I did gracefully leave. Only because I lost
the marriage
myself.
or the
Both,
business?
both.
Right, good.
But I lost myself, Sally. I knew I was a good photographer, and it wasn't until I did artist in residence.
Well, I think so many people throughout their career lose their confidence,
Yeah,
don't
you
they?
do.
And it's a constant having to build yourself up
Yeah.
and trying to find work and trying to do everything every day. It can be quite soul destroying. So you've got to manage that a little bit as well too.
Fernanda, for me, like when I think of you, I think of someone that is just prolific. Like you seem to be working all the time and you've just gone for it. Like as soon as your name came on the scene for me, you're just photographing and you're working in Parliament and you're working with, in the political space. You're now part of a gallery and you make your own projects. And I'm like, how does she have so much energy for a start?
I don't have much energy, but
Because she
I
lives
can
in
try.
Canberra and there's not a lot else to do up there, is that right?
Oh, okay, no digs.
Oh my God.
I love Canberra.
It's called Brazilian passion.
I love Canberra.
Yeah, I guess so. Like,
Look at you.
we need to produce all the time. We need to survive,
Yeah.
and it's always trying to find a way to, do all the things happening. But I think having decided photography with 40 years old helped too.
Yeah.
Because I knew when I decided for photography, I knew I wanted to be a professional. So I looked for courses that I should do. I found Refocus. When I was flying to Refocus the first time, I met a photographer in the airplane, and I said I wanted to be a pet photographer. Was my first thought. And then she was a pet photographer, and then she explained me about it, and I studied a little bit. I said, it's okay, maybe not pet photography. But
And the other thing too, you've got such a beautiful support network with your partner too, don't you?
yeah,
And
a lot.
How
He helps
important
me a
is
lot.
that for
That's
you?
really important. He's really supportive. He really believes in my work. Even when I doubt about myself, because I doubt about myself a lot too. I always looking is it good or not in learning. It's not easy and putting yourself out. But I think you need to do what you believe that is right, because you need to have your voice too. Mm-hmm. So and somehow you try to find the feedback, the positive feedback, but then you need to find your voice and do what you think.
Yeah.
If not, you're going to be the same as everybody.
Yeah.
So we need to find who we are too, which is not easy. I cry a lot. I'm working on my projects. Oh my God, writing and crying and down and don't sleep. I don't sleep sometimes when
But
I'm
it's
thinking
pretty
about
normal.
something.
It's pretty normal.
Yeah.
And you can spend your entire life trying to work that out.
Yes,
Don't
and
you
we
think?
change.
Well, I think at the end of your tears, you'll realise you're a good photographer.
Yeah.
Because deep down you know you are. Sometimes when we're feeling a bit more vulnerable, we need a bit of emotional support. But basically, when I took that photograph with the girl with the red dress at my artist in residence, I thought I'd made it, and I was 70, right? But that's when I was all on my Bugs Malone in this foreign little crappy country town. It was wild as. It was really wild town. And I just thought, no, I've done this. So you have to come to the conclusion yourself.
Yeah.
And you will. You know you're good. We all know
You know
we're
you're good.
good.
And you have to believe in yourself.
You do.
And you've just got to put it out there.
Yeah.
And you're doing such an amazing job. And tell us about the gallery.
Yeah, I just signed with the gallery in Canberra now, Granger Gallery. So I just signed this week, which is amazing.
So can you talk a little bit about what that means? Like when you sign with the gallery, do you have to complete a certain amount of shows a year, or
I'm still learning.
yeah.
But what happens is I got an opportunity to have an exhibition now in November. I cannot say much yet about it.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen, my first solo exhibition, and then I needed to find a space to do that.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find a space, and then it's hard when you need to find a space in the middle of the year, because a lot of galleries, they close their spaces 1 year ahead or 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people who I met through my work or through my college, where I studied in Canberra, they all gave the name for that gallery. And then I was reaching that gallery and said, okay, I need to do an exhibition. That's the space. Or I need a space. And so a lot of people told them about my work. And they said, oh, we're really keen to work with you. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm not telling too much, but I don't think so.
No, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and then,
and
it was
such a
amazing.
boost,
It is. So I don't know yet what's going to happen in the career, but just having a gallery that wants to work with you too, that resonates with your work, it's a lot of saying that you're going the right way too.
You're doing something right.
So let's see what's going to happen. But
that's amazing. So your first solo exhibition is November.
It's going to happen in November, and when it's possible, I'm going to say more about
15th,
it. 15th of November.
I remember that.
Yeah. but I cannot, yeah.
Where's the gallery?
Granger Gallery.
Granger Gallery in
In
Canberra.
Canberra, yeah. The gallery is open, and the exhibition is going to happen there, but I don't have the work there yet.
15th of November.
Yeah, but when I can, I'm going to say more details
And
about it.
one other thing I'd like to ask both of you, perhaps I'll start with Christina, is working, you talked about before that you didn't feel like you're a photographer. Well, hello. But talking about making money as a photographer and having a passion and having your love projects and for someone that's been around a long time, have you found that you have been able to combine the two? Or have you kept it separate? Or have you just done something completely different?
I'll tell you what, no, it's making money these days is a lot harder than what it was, because you can negotiate directly with the client and all that sort of stuff. What I tend to do now are passion projects in regards to, and I just really make it. And thank God I didn't become a photographer at the beginning of my working life. I actually would have been just, running an agency, and I was a stylist in Sydney for 15 years. Top. In those days, you could pull $8,000-9,000 a day easy, and we worked really hard. But
it hasn't changed a whole lot now. Let me tell you.
I know. Well, now these days, I think for a gallery to approach you is quite a feat. Not many people go, "Oh, excuse me, I love your work."
I approached the gallery, but then they said yes.
But they said yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, my apologies. I thought
no,
they
but
said
I'm sorry. Just don't think that they approach them. And it's good. Like just go and approach them. One day it's gonna happen.
Yeah. But I think that's great as well that like we all step out of our comfort zones, and you've got that kind of idea of like, they're not going to want me, but you just got to put it out there, don't you?
Yeah.
And then,
you do.
Who knows what will happen.
And Sally, it's also got to do with this, at this stage of my life is you become more passionate about the humanness of the world and things that are important to others. And so honestly, all the work I do now that pays me money, I actually create. It's really hard going. But, I'm working in circular economies, sustainability, damaged kids, whatever sort of needs to come to the surface visually, I'll attack. And you can't ask a lot of money for it. But sometimes when you gain memento, I'm too old for that now, but when you gain memento, you do get offered things that that person would be great for UNESCO or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
And so these projects that you're doing, Christina, is there an outcome, like is there a kind of end line outcome, or are you just creating work because it's your passion?
I'm working on the circular economy at the moment with a small business, an Indigenous guy and a Hungarian guy, and they're doing amazing work with circular economy. And the first one they opened was in East Melbourne with Indigenous, and they're doing the most amazing things with the circular economy. That's joining the past and the present via the land, the river, the people, the environment, the damage, the non-damage, the things that need to be worked on. And this guy's killing it. He's doing really well. So just on the road.
People are amazing, aren't they?
Really, and people are doing a lot more interesting stuff now, as well. So in that sense, we're kind of running a parallel. I think if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you have to, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think as you grow older as well, that I'm always talking about what is right for you at this point in your life. Are you building a career? Are you stabilising? Are you stopping to have a family? Are you, whatever's going on in your life, you've got to look at where you are right now and what's important. And I know certainly for me, sort of hitting 50 was a really big deal for me. I kind of felt like, wow, I've actually got here and I know a little bit. And I had this, like I've always been slightly confident, but I had this extra confidence that came with more knowledge. And so like knowledge is king. And leading on to that, we've written a couple of questions which I just wanted to sort of bring back in because we're at a women's retreat. What positives do you think there are of being a female in industry at the moment?
At the moment, I don't know if it has that. I think we women, we are most sensitive. Is it sensitive, the word? We see the world differently. Sometimes it can be more positive, sometimes it can be heavier for some women too. So I don't know, like it's hard to say. I don't know about the difference between being a woman or a man in that market. I think it's more about how do you see the world.
That's a great answer. And not, I've never have either. I think it's a great answer. So you don't sort of walk around going, hey, I'm a woman, I'm a female photographer. I can, you go in and you just sell yourself.
I think so. It's like how do you see the world?
Correct.
And how do you want to represent the world that you see too? Like what do you want to make people think about? Like, and then, especially with the personal projects too, like, you can try to help people to see a world differently, maybe.
But do you think, because what you had said, what happened in Brazil, how female photographers didn't approach you as a producer, even though you're a female producer, do you feel comfortable ringing people now and going out and showing your work and going, hey?
I don't think if comfortable is the word. I feel always, it's really hard always. But I need to do that. I need to put myself, and if I don't do that, who's going to do it? That's something else that is hard for when you are a photographer, at least. I think you need to sell yourself. And how do you do that without looking a little bit, is it too much, is it not too much? And then, yes, I think that's the hard part of how to sell yourself without... in trying to believe in yourself at the same time and everything. I don't know. Maybe.
There's this beautiful quote that says something like, just because you have doubt, it doesn't mean that you're not exactly where you're supposed to be. It just means you're outgrowing the place that you have been in, you know? And I think that's like, we all think about imposter syndrome and that doubt, and I don't know if I should be there. But actually, it's just about like, I'm not supposed to be there, and I don't know about that. But
I even started as a psychologist now, just with this imposter syndrome, because it's like, you need to understand your value too, and sometimes people see more value in your work than sometimes you see.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's really good to have a step back and see your value too, and then put yourself there. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's a really good challenge.
Christina's eyes are whizzing around. What are you going to say?
Because I figure I'm now growing into my wisdom at 75, and I've got no plans to stop. But I think my photographs are becoming a lot more intimate. I think when I go out and shoot pictures, I might see like a woman's hand or feet or the hem of a dress or an ear or an earring or whatever, and I really go right in and bring the humanness out of the story, and I don't photograph what's accepted anymore. And as you get older, you realise all the things, hang-ups and all the things you've had when you were a child.
That's what I was saying before. I think as you do get older, you pause a little bit and you're probably a bit bolder and more courageous. And it's like, actually, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I don't care.
And I think also in the creative world, your self-reflection, if you grow that at the same time you're taking photographs, there's no end to your talent, really, because you're going to show people things that you think, oh, wow, she's got the touch, and the touch is you. It's yourself, who you are, and what you present to the world. And I just find my photographs a lot more intimate, and I can actually go into places where people don't even notice me. An old girl. Oh,
look at you'd be perfect. You're tiny. You'd just be able to slide in, and nobody would even know you were there.
I have. You know, I've sat in truck drivers' trucks where someone's need to give me a hand into the truck, and I'm sitting there. But, they think, oh, she's pretty harmless. But, see, I can get what I want, and I get exactly what I want. And he's going, oh, he's got dirty fingernails. Great shot with his hands on the steering wheel, looking all grimy. His thongs. He got, a $40 million truck, he's got thongs on. Hello. But it's all that sort of stuff that makes the life photographically.
And sorry, I just remembered about something. Like, take the opportunities too. Like, I was in the Head-On Festival last year just watching the speakers, and one of the speakers was a Brazilian woman. And I went, she's Brazilian, I'm going to talk to her. Yeah. Roberta, her name. And she ends up, I figure out that she was a judge in N or something like that. And she has a program that she do mentoring, and she's opened an agency too. And she's Brazilian. She lives in the U.S., but she travels everywhere, because her husband works with Cirque du Soleil, and he travels, and she travels with him. And I presented myself. I said, Fernanda, I live in Australia, Brazilian too, and that's my work. He said, I should be part of my group. So now I'm part of her group. We have meetings every week. Was maybe 12 people in the beginning. Was one man in the group. The other ones are women, all Brazilian, that lives everywhere in the world. And it's basically maybe now, I don't know, 8 people every time in the meeting, because every week, and it's women, and it's so good to be part of that group, everybody sharing, doing their work and talking about, and being part of the environment.
You're not just sitting there behind your screen, like looking at your work in a vortex. You're putting it out there and talking about it and kind of figuring out how to talk about it.
Yeah, in Zap, she was a producer for Magnum, and then she was National Geographic, did some work for National Geographic too. So it's good to share and be open to, because I think when you are open, other people open themselves to you.
Fantastic. And did you learn the trapeze as well?
What, sorry?
The trapeze?
Trapeze? Well, I didn't. The circus late. No. I wouldn't have talent for that.
Well, she sounds fascinating, and it's great to get involved in so much community. I think certainly many years ago when we were all involved in studios, before social media, before the world sort of took over and stuffed it all up, we would all sit around at night afterwards, and we'd all be having a drink and we'd all be chatting, and then everybody that all stopped. So community is such a hugely important part, and things like this are really special, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think internet, they separate us somehow, the technology, but it put us together to part of a group from Brazilian photographers in anywhere in the world. So if it wasn't for technology, it wouldn't put together, and then we can at least have the chat and change experiences, which is really good.
And it's interesting, again, I keep bringing it back to, because we are women here, looking at classes. And I'd like to ask you actually about this, Harri. I've noticed over the years, certainly from when I was a student, there was very few of us girls in class. It was mostly a male-dominated area back in the 80s and the 90s, whereas you look at the classes now and they're full of girls, and not many boys. And
final tier at PSC for the commercial industry is all women and just one man.
And one guy. Yeah. And I think that's changed enormously, and I'm not quite sure why, other than I blame parents.
You blame parents?
Yeah, I do.
I blame parents.
Because boys tend to do what their mothers want them to do, and they don't want them to be in the arts. Wow, that's a whole can of...
I was like, woo,
that's big, isn't it? Is that big? Yeah, that's a whole other podcast. But it is interesting. The world has really turned around, and there are so many women photographers out there now, and designers and creatives.
Yeah, I finished school last year, and it was just women in my class in the end.
Yep. And have you found, Christina, how are we doing for time, Harri?
Pretty good, yeah.
Have you found that women have been supportive of you throughout your career?
No.
Be honest.
No.
Yeah.
No, look, but the thing is, I just wanted to say, with what Kim's organised with Refocus, I didn't know about it until I was asked via Christine. And your creative community, this is really important. For the most important things happen over morning tea, a glass of wine, and who spoke that day, whatever. You're instantly creating a community, and I think that's probably the most important thing. And it's lovely, and people are, and you can present any type of arm off this. You could do workshop with kids, you can do just a certain age women, you could do young women, commercial photographers, repertoire, it doesn't matter. I think that's really special. I mean, I feel privileged to be here today. Thank you so much, Kim, really.
And we're privileged to have all of you here, and Kim, we 100%. We're going to be talking about Kim.
And then the podcast is an extension of that, it's delightful.
Apart from that, have you found women supportive of you in your career?
No.
Why? Don't bring it back down again.
No, I think it's really important.
Okay.
And I knew you'd say no. Go. Look, we've had the love. Now we want the dirt.
I haven't got any dirt.
I don't want dirt.
No,
but I think it's
I've
really
already given you one
important.
bit of dirt. That's enough. I'll probably be edited it out today.
That's okay. But it is beautiful here, and we are all having a kumbaya moment, and that's important.
Yeah.
But talk to us about women in your career.
I just don't meet up with them much. It's really odd, but also because I live in Anglesey on the beach now and things like that, and I'm creating my work in that area. But I've always, maybe it's just got to do with the fact that I've always been pretty much a solo character and worked for myself all the time, except when I was in London and all that sort of stuff. But basically, women can be a bit, and I'm not quite sure how to answer your question in the fact that if you're a good photographer and you're good at what you're doing, you're a good human being, you've got good things to say about yourself, you've got kind things to say about others, you know.
I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like it's in recent years that women have become supportive of each other.
Well,
that's great.
I think that
which is
now
a great thing.
Like we've just been talking about how, you know, there's so many more opportunities for women now. So, you know, the classrooms are full of, you know, young women that are learning photography, and not just in our industry, but in a lot of industries. And probably, you know, a few decades ago, maybe there's more competition, and that you sort of had to prove yourself, or you had to be one of the guys, or you had to kind of fight for that spot. Whereas now it's kind of, you know, arms are open, maybe.
I don't...
Yeah.
Go.
No, I don't know. Like, I think in photography, you have that competition thing, but I believe that doesn't matter about the competition, but you're going to have your language. Like, if you are trying to be yourself, the competition is there, of course, but everybody's going to see photography in a different way. You're going to have your style photographing. Because you have your eyes, it depends on you. If what you're doing is within yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We are sort of getting towards the end of the time frame. That's so beautiful, Fernanda.
Profound.
I want to open it up to the audience, but I think just before we do, I just want to ask one more question of both of you. So in our season this season, we asked one question of everyone in each of our seasons, so that kind of ties all the episodes together. And in this season, we asked every guest what the future of photography looks like to them. So I wonder if, Christina, you have a response to that. What does the future of photography, of women's photography, of your photography, you can interpret it any way you like, but what do you think is ahead of you?
I think there's also always, after having a look at the woman before me this morning, and all the guests that Kim's got, they're amazing photographers. And I think in all what I've sort of sussed out in all those conversations is people say be authentic. If you stay authentic, you can ride any storm you like, and find your own stardom. You know, be your own star, and find your own flavour. And
you, what's the future for you?
Well, for me, I just want to keep breaking more out into these human stories. I want to be able to relate to other people what the human stain is all about, or happiness or sadness or whatever. Or I just want to keep dribbling into the things that are still happening, that's still needed. I mean, it's fine to do the whole AI thing. That'll all settle down. Everything will settle down. Yep. Like, you know, Taylor Swift just released a thing on what do you call the tape? Her next CD is on tape.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of like...
I love that you know that. I love that you a Swiftie.
Like, I'm a very cool chick, I can tell you.
Obviously.
We have a Swiftie amongst us. So, Fernanda, what is your future of what's the future of photography look like to you?
Future of photography, I don't know. I think I agree with what Christina said too. Like, AI is there, but for me, AI is not photography. It's a different type of art, like illustration. It can look like photography, but it doesn't bring the experience, your life, you know, the connections, learning with other people. And then if a client's gonna choose doing AI, that's all right, that's what they're going for, but other clients gonna still wanting to have that connection and showing the real life. And so maybe it can change for more raw images because it's looks more real or less retouching, I don't know.
But at the end of the day, you're both excited for it?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited for the individuation. You know, people know
what's
when
that word?
When you're an individual, to stay an individual in the work that you're in, no matter what you do in life. And because you've come down here for a reason, not to be like every other photographer. And the whole AI thing is multimedia anyway. You know, everything just goes whoop, and then it comes back again, whoop, and it comes back again. It comes back to your heart.
Yep.
That's basically it.
How wonderful. Yeah. Well, we can't thank you enough. Has anybody got any questions that you'd like to ask? Anyone up on the stage? I know Tanina is bursting to ask a question. love putting people on the spot.
Obviously, there's lots of things you can do in working around personal projects, I guess. What about where do we see people feeling like there's real value and someone's got the struggle to get paid what they're worth, get valued as they're worth? Where do we see the photographers being really valued?
Okay, so the question is, where do we see our photographers being really valued? Christina?
Well, when I'm doing these more community-minded approaches with what people still want to hold on to in the society that we're living in, you know, and in regards to, I don't know, just keep relating to each other's humanness, but from a really sincere place. And all I want to try and do is just make sure I've got the look in someone's eye or something to convey to, because photography and art's all about communication. You're communicating, you're communing with someone else when you're taking a photograph. When you're communing with their heart, go figure, it'll happen. You know, nothing's really changed in that way, I don't think.
No, I don't think it ever has. And Fernanda, the value of photography, how do you value yourself as, or quote yourself out? I think talking about the business of photography, I've just twisted that a bit, Tanina, but
That's a big challenge, you know, how to put your value. Like I'm trying to be really conscious about the steps that I'm doing since the beginning. For example, before selling myself, I studied a lot to feel ready to put myself out in the market. And then I'm getting some clients and I put the value that I think it is. Of course, it's still gonna grow. Hope so. But that's a challenge for you to understand your value and try to understand what the market has to. So you need to be, at least in the beginning, you need to be around what the market is paying. And then,
I think if I could just add to that, if that's okay.
Sure, please.
25 years plus of quoting for photography jobs. Sadly, it hasn't changed a whole lot. But one of the things is looking at the kind of client that you have and and what you can get away with. I think that's really important. And back in the day, it was commercial will always pay more than editorial, but editorial would give you a byline and you'll get a lot more information. Oh, hello, I've just come in. You'll get a lot more coverage if you like. But looking at the kind of client that you have, understanding what their budgets have been and asking a lot of questions. I think that's really important. Quoting and understanding your worth is always tough. There's nobody on the planet, I think, that really likes talking about money.
Yeah, it's
in the photography industry. It's really tough. But, yeah, except for Julie. And Nikon. But it is a tough thing, so don't feel like you're on your own. There are people to talk to, but talk to your client, ask questions, ask what their budget was. And do you know what I hate? When a marketing person goes, we don't have a budget. Bullshit! They all have a budget. What did you pay last time? We're not really sure. Do you think you could find out? Ask questions. You get away with what you can, but you're always at the end saying, let's have a conversation at the end. So talking about budgets first is really, really important. But as Fernanda was talking about, understanding your worth as well. You don't want to work for nothing. But also if it's an extraordinary opportunity and it's maybe not the day rate that you're used to, but you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it, you make a decision. There was a big thing many years ago about having rate cards, and I've never really liked a rate card because it sort of locks you in, whereas being a little bit fluid with understanding what you're prepared to do it's a lot less stressful, I think.
And I think what is important too is what we do with your pricing change the market too, like value ourselves as a photographer is important because it's the market. Like what you price now, it's what is going to come to other photographers too. And then how can we value ourselves as a professional? Because a lot of people think, that person's a photographer. That person, the person studied. It's to become a photographer is a lot of investment in equipment, in schools, courses, in gear, and Nikons and lenses. So you need to invest a lot of money. So it's great when the client can see the value on that and you can put the value in your work, but it doesn't matter to what you're doing. You always deliver the best work that you can do.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Also, education is a big thing. Like Sally has to educate her clients. You know, someone who's been in the industry for 40 years, well, why is she so more expensive? Well, she's done this. She's worked for 40 years in the industry and she backs herself up every time. And she prefer to do less work for more. You know, so we're constantly educating people about photography. I mean, I fought for copyright for years and still hasn't changed much. 15 years I fought for copyright for photographers. Yeah, right. You know, so there's a stubbornness and an ignorance, maybe, I don't know, with the male-female thing, I don't know whether that's got to do with it, but education is massive. We need to educate people what photography's about, what this photographer does, what that one does. No, well she's learning, but she still would like to earn some money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other questions at all? Well, I think we've definitely talked on and on a lot, and I think we could go all afternoon really, but we must call it a day at some point. So I just want to thank Christina and Fernanda so much for being in the hot seat.
Thank you, ladies.
And Sally, as always.
And Harry.
And I just want to thank Kim. I think this is the last event of the Refocus Retreat week this week, and you're amazing and incredible, and you lead us all through with, your tenacious effort to put this event on each time. And I know this year particularly, it's not been the easiest, but I hope that you feel the love and support from this room because we love you, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So thank you.
And you are a powerhouse, Kim.
You are a
Thank you so much, Kim.
We'd also...
All right.
We'd also like to say that this has been recorded and that these will be out on our podcast in October. So on Sunday, Harry and I will be in here interviewing 5 people: Campbell Addy, Ibi Njoya, Emily Raphael, Le Nguyen Fong, and Penny Stevens. So we'll be here on Sunday, and because the Biennale is running over the next 8 weeks, we'll be feeding out those podcasts throughout that, and when that's finished, this episode will be out. So love to, listen to When Harry Met Sally. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Sally. Thanks, Harry.
Wow, wasn't that another fantastic episode?
So much fun.
And Harry, none of this is possible without the fantastic help we've had from, take it away.
Shaquille Raymond, what a rock star audio engineer.
I like that. Martin Stevens, my husband, for his guitar prowess on the intros and outros. And Shani Power, who is doing all of the behind-the-scenes photos and design of everything to do with the Instagram posts. Thank you all so very much to help us get our podcast out.
We'll see you on the next one.
We will. It's been wonderful, Harry. Thanks, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.